Good morning, gang. It's my grab your Bible. We're going to keep on studying about the life of Christ. So let's explore it together, okay? Matthew chapter 17. It's right where we left off last time. In fact, it would be good if you just put a marker in your Bible, and that way you could go back. Sometimes we're in the same spot. Sometimes we're just a couple books or chapters away. So Matthew chapter 17, we're going to pick up in verse 24. And this is a cool story, okay? Jesus does another miracle. And I love seeing the different types of miracles he does. But this one's a really strange one. Okay, Matthew chapter 24. And when they were come into Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter. Okay, so the tax collectors came to Peter, okay, and said, Doth not thy master pay tribute? Doesn't Jesus pay taxes? We all do. It's not fun. It's something that we always have to do, though. And he saith, Yes. And when he was come into the house, Jesus prevented him. He stopped him, saying, What thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children or of strangers? So Jesus came to Peter and said, Who pays taxes? The tax collector's children or strangers? And Peter said unto him, Of strangers. And Jesus saying unto him, Then are the children free. Okay? If you're in the tax collector's family, you don't have to pay taxes. We're not. We are strangers. We don't belong to him. So, notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go thou to the sea and cast a hook, and take up the fish that first cometh up. And when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money. That take and give unto them for me and for thee. So Jesus didn't have the money to pay the tax collectors. While Jesus lived on earth, he was very poor. He didn't have a place to live. He traveled, all around Israel and these lands. He traveled. He didn't have a job, so he didn't have any money. And it wasn't like he was a pastor of a church where people gave him money. People took care of him. But he wanted to show Peter that he could pay his taxes no matter what. So, notwithstanding we should offend them, Jesus didn't want to offend the tax collectors. Now, the tax collectors were people that were really, really hated back then because they were the most dishonest people. They were thieves. They would go to people and say, You owe this much money. They would take some of that money for themselves and then send the rest into the government, to the tax people. But they robbed people. But yet Jesus still didn't want to offend them. So he said, Go to the sea, cast in a hook, and the first fish that comes out, Peter, I want you to open his mouth. So what do you think Peter did? He went to the sea. He cast in a hook, and he opened that fish's mouth, and he found money. Now, is that normally what you find in fish's mouths? Not usually. Maybe a worm, but not money. But Peter found money, and Jesus said, Take it and give it for them. Give it to them for me and for you. So Jesus was a very good citizen while he was here on earth. He didn't agree with all the laws. He didn't agree with the government. The government was just as corrupt and as horrible as ours is now. But he didn't want to offend, and so he obeyed and he paid his taxes. But he did it in a miraculous way to show Peter, I think, that God's got this. He takes care of it. And whenever we have a need in our life, God takes care of it too. And he expects us to do what a good citizen would do. He expects us to do the right thing, to vote properly, to pay our taxes, to live a godly life in front of people so that we don't offend them out of measure, over much, but that we are doing things the right way. And he took care of it, and he did it in a miraculous way. Peter found that money in a fish's mouth. So the next time you're out fishing, You might want to look in that fish's mouth and see what's there. I love these stories that Jesus shared with us through his disciples. And I loved how he took care of them. He paid for their taxes as well as his own. And he did it in a great way. I hope you're having a great day. Remember, I love you and we miss you. Bye-bye.